Greetings.
We come in peace.
How's it going?
It's going. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Before we get started, I want to say, hey, buds, to someone that's a new fan of the show. Hey, buds. They'll know what I'm talking about. And I had a chance to finally talk to John Vance this week, and we'll have an interview with him coming up on next week's show. You may remember John. Yeah. He's the guy that has captured videos of UFOs in and near Pikeville, Kentucky.
Yes.
And we will have an interview with him next week.
That's exciting.
So, other than that, my week has been... Have you ever had one of those weeks where you just feel like you have too much to do and not enough time?
Yes.
That is what my week has been like.
Cookie Factory's getting pretty rough, huh?
Yes.
I got you. Yeah, I mean, it's been tough this week.
How's things treated you at the Cookie Factory? I understand that somebody had to rescue you from the Pop-Tart oven earlier in the week.
Yeah, well, I mean, I do like Pop-Tarts.
But why did you climb up in the oven?
I was going to get me a Pop-Tart. Well, there's no cameras in there, so I didn't want to be on camera eating a Pop-Tart.
But wasn't you embarrassed when they had to call the local fire department to come and get you out?
I mean, a little bit, but it was pretty funny.
But it was worth it.
It was worth it. It was a good Pop-Tart.
Okay. Well, have you got all your research and homework and everything done this week?
I believe so.
Did you have homework from last week's show?
Yes, I did.
What was your homework?
The homework was what came first, the Atlantis pyramids or the Egyptian pyramids?
What's the answer to that?
Well, so what I have found is that the Egyptian pyramids were built between 2550 and 2490 BC.
Okay.
And the lost city of Atlantis sank in 9600 BC. So
that's an interesting.
So the lost city of Atlantis, the pyramids would be older,
right?
Is that because it goes backwards after BC, right?
Yeah. Well, see, they're both BC, 2500 to 2900, and then it sank. Well, there's really no way to tell.
Right.
So.
But this is just what I mean. They're going off of what. So Plato was the one that wrote about the lost city of Atlantis,
yes.
And it was 9,000 years before he even wrote about it.
Right.
So they're kind of going off of that.
Okay. So you think Atlantis was built first?
Yes.
And I'm happy to say we do have Ned back in the corner this weekend. Welcome back, Ned.
Hey, Ned.
I am glad you are over your violent case of diarrhea that you had.
Yep, I'm back.
That's it? That's all you have to say? Yep, I'm back.
I can't make sudden movements right now.
Oh,
no
okay.
sudden movements. Okay.
Do you have a Depends on?
I have 2 on.
Good.
How many
good.
pairs of pants did you ruin last week?
None of your business.
Okay.
Well, we're going to start out with some listener email. Let's see. Unknown from Kentucky says, "Hey guys, I want to say I don't want you to say my name on the show, but I remember the UFO from Pikeville in 1983. I was in my early 20s at the time, and that's something that I'll never forget. It was exactly as described on last week's show. I'm not sure, but I think the local paper did a small story on it. Maybe you can start there and find out more about it. I also agree with Goose. The Hellier TV show was awful. Roswell."
The Hellier Goblins?
Yeah. Well, no, they're talking about the TV show.
Oh, okay.
The Hellier you've watched that, right?
Yes.
I watched most of season 1. I made it to the last episode, and I didn't finish the last episode. We talked about it a little bit last week, so.
I got you. Oh, so speaking of episodes, you'll be happy to know that I did finish Cobra Kai.
Really?
Yes.
But that means you had to watch more than one episode a week.
I know. I didn't particularly.
Now, what did you? Now, I already know that you knew how it was going to end because me and Ned spoiled that for you.
Yes.
What did you think about it?
About halfway through the season, you kind of seen it coming.
Yeah, but I mean, still though, when Johnny Lawrence comes out after all the students are there at the Miyagi-Do, and
it was very 80s montagey.
So on a scale of 1 to 5, how many stars would you give it?
I'd give it a 4.
Okay,
that was pretty good. It's a pretty good show. I like the show.
Are you going to go back and watch it again?
Yes, when the new season comes out, I'll probably start from season 1 and catch up. And
really?
Then, I'll start watching it over.
So you're one of those people that has to watch everything. Why?
I don't know.
Okay.
I couldn't explain it to you.
Okay.
I'm not sure exactly. So you want me to keep going? You want me to go on?
Yeah.
All right. So I've got Matthew from West Virginia that says, "Great show last week. I live close to the Flatwoods Monster Story. The festival that they have every year is really good. Good food there. Well, I mean, I'm already down for that. You know what I mean? Goose, Cronkite, and Ned, I extend an invitation and hope to see you there at the next one, pending COVID. P.S. It may be overdone, but you need to do a show on the Mothman sometime. Roswell.
Well, you know,
yeah, and
we can definitely do that.
definitely, because that's one of those things that's kind of neat to me, because there's a few other stories about the Mothman. So I mean, I would kind of like to get into that a little bit too.
Well, you know, when would you want to do a show on the Mothman?
That's a good question.
Okay. Soon, right?
Yeah. Let me do some research, and then
Okay.
I'll give you a heads up about a week or so.
All right. Our next email is from Cronkite Lover from North Carolina.
Hey now.
Cronkite, you are ear and eye candy. I'm from North Carolina as well. Where do you live at? Where did you live at in North Carolina? Do you ever come back? Keep the ear candy coming, baby. Love, Steven. I am just joking. There was no love, Steven, at the end. I just threw that in there.
No, I lived in Mooresville, North Carolina, which was just north of Charlotte. And yes, occasionally I do come back because I have some friends down there still. But you know, this is where I live now.
The look on the your face when I was pulling your leg and put the love, Steven, at the end of it.
Yeah, I mean,
And it did not have that. I just threw that in.
Okay, all
so.
right. Cronkite Lover from North Carolina.
See, look, and I'll even give that one to you.
All
You
right.
can keep if you want to.
Ear and eye candy.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Evidently, that old lady can't see or hear too good. So that's a good one, Ned. One for Ned.
Okay. Anyway, Kevin from Kentucky says, "Hey, here to chew bubblegum. The email segment where Goose and Cronkite from last week's show was hilarious. How did you stumble across that site? Also, if and when you do conventions or appearances, I think you should go live on Facebook or YouTube, Roswell."
Well, that one, Ned's been saying that for quite a while.
Yeah.
That is something we are going to do more of coming up, I guess, in the next couple of months. We will be doing more live and interactive videos.
Sure. Yeah.
The website he's referring to, I heard of that from a friend named Cherokee Hall, who told me about it, I guess, maybe 10 years ago, 8 to 10 years ago. And, I laughed hysterically when I started reading stuff from the website.
It's some of it's pretty good.
Yeah, it is. We had to tone some of it down.
Yeah, no,
So.
I mean there was a few that were kind of rough.
Yeah. So, let's see. Katie from Germany. Hello, Goose, Cronkite, and Ned. I'm in the U.S. military and stationed in Germany. Well, first, Katie, thank you for your service. I'm originally from Corbin, home of KFC. I found your show a few weeks ago while searching for Kentucky on Google. As you probably guessed, I was homesick. I just want to say that listening to you guys makes it sound like being home. Thank you for making home not seem so far away, Roswell. And again, that's Katie from Germany. Thank you very much, Katie, and thank you for your service.
Thank you for your service. Yeah, absolutely. That's what that touches my soul. I like that. Thank you for the kind words.
Have you ever ate at the KFC in Corbin?
I've not, but I heard it's amazing.
It is. Then they've got like a little museum set up of the old kitchen that the Colonel used. And when he owned a motel, they actually have one of the rooms set up.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I've heard it's very good there.
Yeah, it's a really neat place.
So T. Spencer from Texas writes, just wanted to say that I loved the acting out of the emails in last week's show. I am a longtime fan of you guys I'm a longtime fan of, and if you guys are ever in Texas, please let me know. Goose, Cronkite, and Ned are the best.
Thank you very much.
Everybody's saying they like Ned.
Yeah.
I mean,
Ned's a very likable guy.
Ned just kind of lets us down on a weekly basis.
No, he
just
does
doesn't
not.
shut up. He just doesn't show up.
Man, he had diarrhea.
He was late the week before. Just a POS.
Ned, you got anything to say about that?
I'll handle it after the show.
Oh, okay.
Let's see. Jay Reed from Ohio says, "Hey Cronkite, your laugh attack a few weeks ago was and will always be hilarious. Don't be embarrassed. I downloaded that show and have listened to that part at least a dozen times. It was funny when it happened. Funny now and will always be funny. The emails that you were acting out were hilarious. Take care, my friend, and keep making me laugh."
Thank you for the kind words. That That struck me like it just caught me off guard, and that was a genuine.
So I mean, and you had no clue that was coming
No.
because I didn't tell you pre-hand, and I just handed you a
That
paper.
was a deep, deep laugh from within.
Yeah, and you didn't even know we were recording.
No, I had
So,
no idea.
yeah.
And apparently it was like 45 seconds. Of
Yeah,
just
well,
laughter.
Ned may have told me to go ahead and hit record without you knowing. So,
And you wonder why I call him a POS. So, Time Man from Virginia, Goose and Cronkite. Last week I was talking to Steve, my good friend, and he was talking about building a time portal. I may build one in the summer. Then he was saying there's a chance that a solar flare can wipe out the coronavirus. He didn't go into detail. Other subjects are mentioned too. I am banned from the Lincoln assassin.
I'm only laughing because I read this one to Ned on Friday when I printed it off.
I am banned from the Lincoln assassination. I was told by my agency not to go back. I changed the fate of Robert E. Lee. I am only a spectator. I do not help people unless I know them. I don't do lottery numbers. Don't ask for them. But I think that the solar flare could happen in May or June. Change of season or moon. Be prepared and be ready.
Again, like I told you before, mental illness is nothing to laugh about.
No, I'm not laughing. So, if you think a solar flare could wipe this out,
Right.
that would mean that it would be some sort of technological virus, right?
I assume so, yes.
Because a solar flare would be like an EM pulse, maybe? Was that one? I'm
Yeah,
thinking?
well, a solar flare would be like the thing from the sun where it shoots out.
Well, no, I
and
know,
it-
but what type of radiation is it that can like wipe out your cell phone and stuff?
I don't know. You know, I'm just fascinated that after you read that email, the only thing that you're interested in discussing is a solar flare.
I'm trying to be professional. He's banned from the Lincoln assassination, so he is a time traveler.
Yeah,
is what
and
I'm
he's not going to give you lottery numbers, so do not ask, because you have said that on the show before.
I want lottery numbers.
So,
Listen, imagine how much better the show could be if I had lottery numbers.
and what about if we all had lottery numbers?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Let me get mine first.
Samantha from Kentucky writes, "Hey, here to chew bubblegum. I would love to see you guys at the Lexington Comic Con or Scarefest. You guys are great." Yeah, we'll definitely, when they open things back up, we'll definitely try to be at both of those shows,
Yeah, for
one
sure.
or both of them.
Yeah, for sure. So this is Ned Fan number 2.
Ned Fan number 2.
So we had Ned Fan 1, or I guess the original.
Yeah.
The OG.
Yeah,
last
Ned
week.
Fan.
This one's from Florida. I missed Ned on the show last week. I became worried when he wasn't on the midweek show. Is he okay? Please give us an update, Roswell. Well, as you heard, Ned is here. He is wearing a Depends diaper.
2 of them, he said.
2 of them. And he's already had to change it once this morning.
Okay.
Ned is... What are you doing over there, Ned? You have a fan.
Ned is playing on his phone.
What kind of research?
I'll tell you here in a minute.
Okay. So Ned Fan number 2, Ned is alive and well. He is doing well.
You just really honestly had like a stomach virus, right? Yeah. Minor stomach virus. So he's bounced back.
Yeah, he's doing well. He's here with us this morning. Hopefully maybe he'll be running our Facebook page today.
Oh yeah.
While we're going on.
Yeah, that may be what he's doing.
Is that what you're doing? That's not what you're doing at all, is it? Okay.
Ryan _94 from Tennessee says, "Have you guys heard of the area, and I believe it is in Mexico, that is basically like a Bermuda Triangle on land? I heard about it on an old TV show and don't remember a lot about it. Maybe you guys can do an investigation. That's just an idea." I have heard about that. Have you heard about that? It's like a dead zone somewhere in New Mexico, and it's like a square radius, and there's no cell phone. If planes fly over, their instruments don't work. But I have heard about that.
No, I've never heard of that.
I think the actual name of it is New Mexico Dead Space. But I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, for sure. That'd be cool. So Robert from Oklahoma. Hello, Goose, Cronkite, and Ned. I love the show and just started listening this week. I've got ketchup to play on the past shows. I don't know if you did
Ketchup?
Mm-hmm.
Like ketchup or ketchup?
Yeah, like ketchup like you put on french fries.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
He's got ketchup to put on the shows.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you like mashed potatoes, he likes ketchup.
We are ear and eye candy.
Okay.
I've got some ketchup, TCH.
I'm just giving you a hard time, my friend.
Ketchup to play on the past
We're going
shows.
out to Walmart to get some ketchup.
Right. I don't know. Oh, so speaking of ketchup, have you seen that new thing that they have? Sorry, my mind is a Rolodex this morning.
Yeah.
Have you seen the new dipping sauce that they have that's ketchup and mayonnaise? Or
Yeah.
Is it ketchup and mayonnaise? Is that what it is?
Yeah, that's actually been out a couple of years.
But I've never seen it until
Yeah,
the other day.
yeah.
I don't.
That's what, Ned, that's been out, what, 3, maybe 4 years. It's
guys.
been out quite
okay.
a while.
Okay, why are you yelling at me? I'm
No.
just saying.
Nobody's yelling at you.
Everybody just calm down.
It doesn't take much to entertain you, does it?
No, but I thought it was.
You can get different color ketchup, like blue and green.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
They need to bring that back.
What's your favorite color of ketchup?
Probably the blue one.
Blue one? Did you have a favorite color ketchup?
I'm going to say green.
Green. I like red. All right, so I apologize, Robert. Let me start from the beginning. Robert from Oklahoma. Hello, Goose, Cronkite, and Ned. I love the show and just started listening this week. I've got some catch-up to play on the past shows. I don't know if you did a show on John Teeter, but I would like to hear your thoughts. I apologize if you did one, and please disregard Roswell.
I've mentioned you before. That was, prior to you and Ned joining me. Did a small piece on him. Did we have somebody a few weeks ago mention John Teeter too?
Yeah, I mean, that seems to be something that a lot
Well,
of people are starting to
that
mention.
will definitely be something that we'll have to do. We'll have to check out. Thank you very much, Robert from Oklahoma. To contact us, tell them how to contact us.
Well, you can leave a voicemail, text, or a phone call.
Yes.
606-373-3396. Or, as always, you can email Goose or I, goose@heretochewbubblegum.com or cronkite@heretochewbubblegum.com. And we have a Facebook page now that you can message or comment on our posts. Ned mans that daily, hourly, by the minute. He will respond pretty quickly.
Right. And you can also email Ned at heretochewbubblegum@yahoo.com.
So he has
Ned will be getting his own personal email
ain't it? Look at you.
very, very soon. But until then, you can email him at heretochewbubblegum@yahoo.com.
There you go. Just to put attention Ned in the subject, I
Yep,
guess.
attention Ned. So Ned said, we talked a little bit about Ned said. Is that something you're up for?
Possibly, yeah.
Okay.
That's a good name, isn't it? Ned said. I don't know why we didn't think of that. That was pretty good.
Yeah. See, Ned's corner sucked. Ned said it's a lot
because
better.
he sits in a corner.
So
But Ned said is way
Yeah.
better.
we're going to take a break and come back with Chapter 4 of The Truth Is Out There, where we will be discussing Roswell and Bob Lazar. What are we listening to? What are they listening to?
Well, they are listening to Here to Chew Bubblegum. I don't know what you're listening to.
I'm listening to you.
Okay.
So we'll be back in just a few minutes.
Do you have a Roku device? Do you want to escape the everyday? Then download the Edge TV. That is the Edge TV on your Roku device, spelled capital T, capital H, #3. Let James, Stacy, Greg, and the rest of the gang keep you entertained. The Edge TV, available now on Roku.
Be sure to check out heretochewbubblegum.com.
And welcome back.
Welcome back.
What'd you do during the last break?
I went and washed my hands, and then I used the bathroom.
So you put the cart before the horse. Okay. Well, that makes sense. That makes sense.
You can't be. I mean, I don't want.
Do not touch me the rest of the show.
I washed my hands.
Yeah, after or before.
Yeah.
We're going to start out this segment, and our Truth Is Out There series. We're on Chapter 4 or Part 4, Segment 4, or Part D, every which way you want to count it. We're going to talk about Roswell, and then you're going to talk about Bob Lazar, correct?
I am.
Okay. I'm sure everyone is familiar with the Roswell crash, but if they're not, the Roswell incident is one of the most popular UFO sightings regarding UFOs. It happened in July 1947 on a ranch near Roswell, New Mexico. In the 1990s, the U.S. military published two reports disclosing the true nature of the crash and said it was a nuclear test balloon project called Project Mogul. What do you think about that?
It said it was a nuclear balloon.
Yeah, a nuclear test surveillance balloon.
I thought it was a weather balloon.
Well, no, according to this, it was a nuclear test surveillance balloon from Project Mogul.
There's too many holes in the story.
Nevertheless, the Roswell incident continues to be an interest in popular media and conspiracy theories surrounding the event. Roswell is described as the world's most famous, most intriguing investigation through UFO claims. In October 2002, before airing a Roswell documentary, the Sci-Fi Channel hosted a Washington UFO news conference. John Podesta, President Clinton's chief of staff, appeared as a member of public relations firm hired by Sci-Fi to help get the government to open up documents on the subject. Podesta stated, "It's time for the government to declassify records that are more than 25 years old and to provide scientists with data that will assist in determining the true nature of the phenomenon." What do you think about that? Do you remember that?
I can't say that I do remember that.
Okay. I actually remember bits and pieces of that, but it was a long time ago. But there's new information. I think this is a couple of years old, that Jesse Marcel, he is the public information officer for the Air Force, that actually said, we have a UFO. We have recovered UFO. And then he came back the next day and said that, it was a weather balloon. Apparently, he kept a diary on the whole thing.
Oh, okay.
When the mysterious object slammed into the desert near the Roswell Air Force Base in July 1947, Major Jesse Marcel, an RAAF intelligence officer, was sent to supervise and collect all the debris. A press officer issued a statement on July the 8th describing the crash and recovery of a flying disc. Many interpreted this as evidence of alien contact, but the next day, another Army official told reporters that officers had recovered a weather balloon, not a flying saucer. So, see, there's where your nuclear balloon and your weather balloon.
That's
So,
I was thinking that it was.
Now, think about something for a second. They said it was a weather balloon way back then. And then, when was it? In 2000, in the 1990s, they said it was a nuclear test surveillance balloon. Even, just from my standpoint, even calling it a weather balloon back then, if it really was a nuclear test surveillance balloon, those are kind of similar. Why would you, that just don't make any sense to me.
Right. And so were there nuclear tests in New Mexico during the time? I don't think so. Was there?
Yeah,
were?
I think there were, but I don't think it was. I mean, why would you put dummies that are human size in a nuclear test balloon? If you did that, it looks to me like they would be blew apart.
Right.
Because initially in the weather balloon there were supposed to be humanoids. So that doesn't make any sense to me. Let's see. Continuing on here, in the decades since the report, the military's initial flying disc report, wondering if the wreckage was perhaps more unusual than the photos implied, Marcel's family revealed that he had kept a diary from that period that might contain clues about the crash, sparking a new investigation. The government claimed that they had recovered a UFO, and they released a press thing about it. A former CIA operative and the show's lead investigator said no other government in the world will say we have a spacecraft, and then the next day say, never mind, it was just a weather balloon. That's what the guy from the CIA said. And his reasoning was let's see, I apologize here, I thought I had things in order. His reasoning for that was, he said that basically if other countries knew that we had a recovered UFO, that we would be a target. Okay, now there's also two different new theories now that explain Roswell. And one of these is that the vehicle is of extraterrestrial origin, and the other one is that it is of Nazi origin. Another undisclosed aspect of the 20th century in history is that the German technology was more advanced, and that it generally supported that what might have crashed the vehicles that planted a redoubt of high-level Nazis in the event of defeat in World War II. So basically, they're saying that it could have been UFO or it could have been a Nazi UFO that crashed. Hans Klammer was the head of the German R&D, and there are 4 incompatible accounts of his death. 8 of them end. 8 of his 9 death stories have underground laboratories that disappeared, along with a freighter-sized U-boats and one of 2 giant junker airplanes. So that is just a new spin, kind of, to put on the Roswell crash. Me personally, I think the Roswell crash happened.
Yeah, I do too.
Was hit. I never thought about it being Nazi origin. But we've talked a little bit before about the 1936 Dark Forest crash, where the Nazis supposedly recovered all that, and that's what gave them their advanced technology.
And that is a new interesting theory. That's, I mean, if it were a Nazi craft though in 1947, it wouldn't have been a Nazi Germany craft. It would have been a Nazi USA craft at that point, wouldn't it?
Well, if you've got Nazis that have disappeared like Hans did, that's the reason I read that,
Well, and that's something we'll touch on later anyway about the.
Yeah, I mean, and we're eventually going to have to do a show on the Nazi technology,
Dedicated
but there's just so much out there. I mean, you're probably talking about 2 shows, like a part 1 and part 2 of us during the whole show, just basically talking about that as our subject.
Right.
Ned, what do you think about Roswell?
I think it happened.
Do you think it was a weather balloon, or do you think it was something else?
If it was a weather balloon, it wouldn't be such a big deal,
Right.
in my opinion.
Now, what do you think it's a weather? Do you think it was an alien craft, or do you think it was a Nazi craft?
Alien.
It was alien. Well, now you've been to Roswell, right?
Yes.
What kind of feel did you get from the locals there?
It
I'm sure you asked around a little bit.
Well, yeah, I mean, some of them actually believe that it did happen. Some of them, they use that to capitalize on tourism and get visitors to their city. Some of them don't. Honestly, and I've always been fascinated with Roswell, and we try not to talk about it too much because we want to talk about,
Like
lesser known
right.
crashes and encounters. But I think it was an alien craft. And I mentioned this in one of the shows before, but coming up on the midweek show this week, we're going to talk about some technology that came after Roswell. And once I start reading you this technology that happened after Roswell, I mean, there is no way that, there's just too much technology that came after Roswell for it not to be something from a different world, different, humanoids, aliens. I mean, it has to be.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean, I absolutely agree with that. And I was kind of looking around on the internet the other day, kind of bored, and I don't even know how true it is, but came across some original quote unquote Roswell crash pictures, and there looked like it didn't look like a balloon. I mean, it appeared to be, maybe you could tell, an engine of some kind.
Right.
And so that's to me, that's just, if those pictures are accurate, then that's kind of a it's kind of like a bombshell, really. You know what I mean? Because the given story has been fed to us for so long that we just assume,
it's just a matter of time before they have to come back and say, hey, we've been not. I don't think they're going to say we've been lying to you. We were led to believe that
right.
it was not of this earth. But I mean, they released videos back in April. I mean, that's to me that's full disclosure.
That's good,
and nobody.
It's as close to full disclosure as you can get without saying, hey, there are other beings in the universe, instead of without actually coming forward and saying that.
Right.
That they're as close to it as they can be, I think, right now.
Is there an update on that executive order that was signed?
Just 180 days.
Yeah.
It should be coming up,
it's still
May or June,
still going.
like that.
Now, some people think the recent media dump that the CIA and stuff did, that's going to be it. I don't think it is. Yeah, yeah. And I totally agree with you. So, final verdict from us: Roswell aliens.
Yes.
I say yes. Ned, you say yes. So, moving on to Bob Lazar.
All right, so Bob Lazar. Do you know who Bob Lazar is?
Yes, I do.
All right, so just in case for some of our listeners don't know who they are, there's a little background about Bob. Robert Scott Lazar was born January 26, 1959. He is an American. I'm going to say he's a whistleblower. They're calling him a conspiracy theorist. I'm going to say he's a whistleblower who claims to have been hired in the late 80s to reverse engineer extraterrestrial technology at what he described as a secret site called S4. Lazar alleges that the subsidiary installation is located several miles south of the United States Air Force facility, popularly known as Area 51. All right, so like last week when we were talking about Bob Lazar,
Yes, sir.
and we were trying to figure out exactly what he does now, and we were
Right.
I said hardware.
Yeah,
store,
you said
and
hardware
You said he
store.
was a chemist.
Yeah.
He is actually the owner of United Nuclear Scientific Equipment and Supplies.
Okay. All right.
So
now.
a smart hardware store. So I was right.
No,
Yeah,
there's
I
no
was right.
way that's a hardware store.
That's a hardware
So
store.
if I wanted a hammer, I could go down and Bob Lazar could sell me a hammer.
I'm sure it's a very expensive hammer, but I'm sure he's got nuclear.
What about
hammers.
a shovel?
He's probably got nuclear shovels.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Sure he does.
All right, so Lazar claims he examined an alien craft that ran out of antimatter ran on antimatter reactor. It's powered by element 115, which at the time had not yet been synthesized. He also claims that have read U.S. government briefing documents that described alien involvement in human affairs over the past 10,000 years.
Wow.
So there was documents that go back that far, or is it just kind of like a hearsay kind of thing that we put it out, 10,000 years ago? The lost city of Atlantis.
You could ask your time traveler friend from Virginia that question.
Oh yeah, what's his name?
Time Man.
Time Man, help us out on this. Where are you from? What year? I want to know.
So-
Anyway, so Lazar claims resulted in bringing added public attention to Area 51, obviously, and fueling conspiracy theories surrounding its classified activities. Lazar's story has since been analyzed and rejected by skeptics and some ufologists. Universities from which he claims to hold degrees show no record of him. So he attended Pierce Junior College in Los Angeles. He filed for bankruptcy in '86, where he described himself as self-employed film processor. It's weird, right?
No.
It's not weird.
I can tell by your looks as you're reading this, you don't really believe Bob Lazar, do you?
No, I want to believe Bob Lazar,
Okay.
but what I have found is a lot of people trying to
Discredit him.
discredit him.
Okay. But he talked about hand scanners that, they didn't come out to 10 or 15 years later. Element 115.
Right.
He said what it would do. The element didn't exist.
Right.
It was discovered in the early 2000s and wasn't added to the element table until like 2015.
Right.
Bob Lazar is 100% legit.
I believe so. I do believe so. And that I guess probably the looks that I'm giving is because of this little bit of information that I have here that they're trying to actively discredit him.
Now you
There
need
is
to,
no-
and I've your homework for this week will be to watch the Bob Lazar Netflix thing.
Okay.
Now, after you watch that, you come back next week and tell me, and you will see Bob Lazar in a whole new light.
No, I really do believe Bob Lazar. I really do. Like that's not something I'm disputing. I'm
Right.
saying that the research that I was looking up, everyone's trying to discredit him, and for good reason.
Yeah.
If what he's saying is true, and I
Well,
believe what he's saying is true.
He passed several lie detector tests.
Mm-hmm.
His stories have never changed. Drawings that's in the Netflix special. He draws like what the craft looked like and what he was working on, and he's explaining stuff. Now, if you take that into the recent patents that we talked about the Navy getting in a couple shows ago, they're pretty much identical.
Well, I was going to go over what he claimed, but you pretty much just did that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, sir. I didn't mean to ruin your segment and steal
Oh,
your
no,
thunder.
You're fine. You're fine. It happens.
There.
I guess. Let me see if there's anything in here that you didn't touch on. So he claimed to work at the Site S4.
Yeah.
Consisted of concealed aircraft hangars built into a mountainside. Lazar said that his job was to help with the reverse engineering of one of 9 flying saucers, which he alleged were extraterrestrial in origin. He claims one of the flying saucers, the one he coined when he coined the sport mode or the sport model, was manufactured out of a metallic substance similar to what appears in appearance and touch to stainless steel. He also claimed that the propulsion of the studied vehicle ran on antimatter reactor and was fueled by the chemical element atomic number 115, which at the time was provisionally named unappendium,
Yeah.
and had not been artificially created yet. Lazar additionally claimed that during his joining the program, he read briefing documents describing the historical involvement of Earth for the past 10,000 years with extraterrestrial beings described as the Greys.
10,000 years.
So we talked about the Greys not long ago. There was like, what did we say, 7 races
yeah,
of the Greys?
yeah. So 7 different ones.
Yeah, from a planet orbiting the twin binary star system Zeta Reticuli. As of September of 19, no extrasolar panels or extrasolar planets have been found in the Zeta Reticuli system. Lazar claims to have earned a master's degree in physics from MIT. His alleged employment as a physicist at Los Alamos is mentioned at least three times. Yeah, I mean, essentially now they're just trying to discredit him. So his criminal convictions: in 1990, Lazar was arrested for aiding and abetting a prostitution ring.
Well, there's okay. Explain. Expand on that.
This was reduced to felony pandering, to which he pleaded guilty. He was ordered to do 150 hours of community service and to stay away from brothels and undergo psychotherapy. Isn't brothels legal in Nevada?
Yeah, but yeah, that wasn't in Nevada. So I mean, all right. When you watch the documentary on Netflix, and you see, did you see what Bob Lazar looked like when he first came forward? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know, do you want me to say it, or can you guess what I'm trying to say about him? Huh?
I want you to say it.
Well, I mean, really, you want me to say it?
Yeah. What, do you have a sex change or something?
No, he didn't have a sex change. I mean, you know, he looked like a guy from that time that was highly intelligent.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, he had the glasses, the pocket protector. I mean, guys like that have a hard time sometimes meeting women. So, and I'm not saying what he did was right. I'm not saying that by any chance, but, you know, you can understand if you've got somebody this guy has a high intellectual capacity, that had the job he had, that was working on what he was working on. Yeah, he's probably shy when it comes to the females. So, you know, that's all I'm saying.
Okay.
You know, you were trying to get me to be mean and
no,
call him a dork or a nerd or something like that, and I'm not going to. Yes, you were.
I was not going to. Well, all right. So he pleaded guilty to pandering.
Right.
Now, I don't quite understand why they got him on that, because at this point, this man he was a whistleblower in the late 80s.
Well,
right?
yeah, but I mean, when you have to watch the Netflix documentary. I will go ahead and tell you about one part.
Okay.
The guy that's filming the documentary mentions Element 115.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. They have their cell phones there. Bob Lazar is really careful about the NSA and stuff. Less than 24 hours after they mention Element 115, were they talking on their phones, or did they just have their phones out?
I think we just had them out.
Okay. Less than 24 hours later, the FBI, state, and local police are searching Bob Lazar's house and business.
I know. I've seen this docuseries. I think documentary.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure I have.
I don't think you have.
I swear I have.
I don't think you have.
I have. Yes.
But I mean,
because that's where I got. He was a hardware store salesman.
But he's not a hardware store. He does not own a hardware store.
Nuclear hardware store.
Oh my gosh,
if you were going to build something nuclear, you would go to Bob Lazar because he has a nuclear hardware store.
No, he does not.
He does.
No, he does not. Okay. Anyway, all right.
It's my opinion.
Okay. He has been on the government's radar since he came out in the late 80s.
Absolutely.
So, you know, and they took his college transcripts, his employment. They took all that stuff away. And if they wanted to get him on that, they got him on that.
That's what I'm saying is, like, all of these things have disappeared. There's no evidence where he went to school or anything like that. So, yes.
Don't you find that in itself a big...
Yes, it's very strange.
Right.
And what I'm getting at is Bob Lazar is a whistleblower in the late 80s.
Uh-huh.
They can't get him on anything else because he's doing everything by the book.
Right.
He's not breaking any
So they
laws.
get the
They get
pandering.
him on the pander.
Okay.
That's where I was
Got
getting
you.
at with
Got
that.
you. Okay. Got
You and Ned, y'all need to chill out this morning.
Well,
y'all
you
yelling
know,
at me all the
normally
time.
when me and Ned have something to explain, we just say it. We don't beat around the bush and go halfway around the world
Well,
to
I
come
was-
back to the
I
point
was-
that you
I
were
was-
trying to make.
I was trying to, but I was trying to set up the story.
What story?
Anyway, in
That he- that
2006,
took place at the
Lazar and his
hardware
wife-
store?
Anyway, in 2006, Lazar and his wife, Joy, were charged with violating the Federal Hazardous Substances Act for shipping restricted chemicals across state lines. The charges stemmed from a 2003 raid on the United Nuclear's business office, the nuclear hardware store.
Did you know that a hardware store sold chemicals? I didn't
It's a
either.
nuclear hardware. United Nuclear Hardware Store. That's what it's called.
Okay.
Anyway, where chemicals and sales records were examined, United Nuclear pleaded guilty to 3 criminal counts of introducing into interstate commerce and aiding and abetting the introduction into interstate commerce banned hazardous substances. In 2007, United Nuclear was fined $7,500 for violating a law prohibiting the sale of chemicals and composites or components used to make illegal fireworks. That's all they can get him for. That's
Right.
what I'm getting at.
So,
Goose.
final verdict. Do you think Bob Lazar is legit?
Yes, I've always said
I
he
do
was.
too.
I've
Ned?
always said he was.
Ned? Legit? Do you think Bob Lazar is 100% legit and telling the truth? So,
Ned said.
okay. Ned said. You were getting a little irritated there last
I
segment. weren't
was. I'll
Why?
continue to get
you?
irritated.
Your face was turning
Listen,
red.
I watched the documentary.
You said he owned a hardware store.
He
not
does.
Own,
It's a nuclear hardware store.
no, he does not. He does not own an Ace hardware store.
No, he doesn't own Ace. That's Ace. He owns United Nuclear
That's-
hardware store.
United Nuclear is just the name of his company.
Yeah, but they sell nuclear things to help with your nuclear projects.
How
What's
many?
not nuclear?
How many people have you seen that has nuclear projects?
There are some.
I've got the week off. I'm going to build a spaceship.
Well, now,
Let's
hold
go
on.
down to
Now,
the
hold
hardware
on.
store.
How many Bob Lazars are there out there?
So far, just him. He's the
Exactly.
only one.
So there's a nuclear hardware store for Bob Lazars. That's what it is.
what? Mm-hmm. Say that again.
We'll be right back.
So you go down and get you some uranium and some plumbing supplies.
It's a nuclear hardware for nuclear projects.
I want a nuclear plunger. Can you help me out? What aisle's that in?
We got to take a break. It's time to roll out.
We'll be right back.
Are you a horror movie fan? Yeah, I dig horror movies. Are you searching for a great internet horror talk radio show to listen to? Why, sure, that sounds quite spiffy. Then you need to tune into deadpit.com. It's the original horror talk radio show. Dead Pit is a show by the fans and for the fans. Uncensored and unbiased opinions are the goal of the show, giving fans honest reviews on new films and vintage classics of the horror genre. Make deadpit.com your #1 horror station destination.
I can't believe what you do, and I'm so hung up on you. My feelings never show through, and it's time you knew the truth.
You're listening to Here to Chew Bubblegum, recorded from a secret location in the city that moves mountains.
And welcome back to Here to Chew Bubblegum. I am Cronkite. This man sitting next to me is Goose. And, of course, the man in the corner over there, as always, is Ned. Well, most
Yeah,
times
yeah.
here.
Why do you sound like you've lost your best friend?
Is it time for the news yet?
Yeah, yeah.
All right, so we're going
Did
to
you,
talk
did
about...
you like your country music that I just
No,
played?
we're going to talk about the news.
Okay. Tell us what's in the news.
The mysterious Voynich manuscript has finally been decoded. History researcher says that it's a mostly plagiarized guide to women's health.
Women's health.
That's what it says.
Okay.
So scholars have started to debunk these claims about the Voynich manuscript, noting that the translation makes no sense and that a lot of these so-called original findings were done by other researchers. Since its discovery in 1912, the 15th century Voynich manuscript has been a mystery and a cult phenomenon, full of handwriting in an unknown language or code. The book is heavily illustrated with weird pictures of alien plants, naked women, strange objects, and zodiac symbols. Now, history researcher and television writer Nicholas Gibbs appears to have cracked the code, discovering that the book is actually a guide to women's health that's mostly plagiarized from other guides of the era.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. Gibbs writes that the Times literary supplement that he was commissioned by a television network to analyze the Voynich manuscript 3 years ago. Because the manuscript has been entirely digitized by Yale's Binek library, he could see tiny details in each page and pore over them in his leisure. His experience with medieval Latin and familiarity with ancient medical guides allowed him to uncover the first clues. After looking at the so-called code for a while, Gibbs realized that he was seeing common form of medieval Latin abbreviations, often used in medical
Terminology.
Yeah, about herbs. From the herbarium incorporated into the Voynich manuscript, a standard pattern, abbreviations, and ligatures emerged from each plant entry, he wrote. The abbreviations correspond with the standard pattern of words used in the herbarium Apuleius Platonicus, in which it says AQ equals aqua, or water. DQ equals decoke, or deconation.
Agua.
Yeah, and con is confundo. There's a mix. Radix is a root. AIIJ is 3 grains each, and etc. and so on. So this wasn't a code at all. It was just shorthand. The text would have been very familiar to anyone at the time who was interested in medicine. What do you think about that?
That's fascinating.
Yeah, it's. So we spent all this time trying to decode this ancient.
Turns out it was plagiarized.
Medical book. You know. All right, so we're going to keep going. The next.
Ali Akbar.
We're going to find out. We're finding out more and more about the analog computer from ancient Greece. So have you heard about this?
Briefly.
All right, so researchers use cutting-edge technology to unlock the mysteries of the ancient Greek computer. The artifact discovered in 1901 has new meaning after its latest examination found, and it was used to teach ancient Greeks about our place in the cosmos. Found in the wreck of an ancient merchant ship that sunk between 150 and 70 BC, it was covered in mud and at first unrecognizable as anything of importance. When sponge divers came across it, the piece was considered insignificant compared to the other more obviously relevant relics like statues and jewelry, coins, from the same time. Named after the island near where it was found, it became known as the Antikythera mechanism. And it was cataloged and placed in storage. So then in the late 1902, Valerios Stais, the director of the National Archaeological Museum in Athens, noticed a gear embedded in the rock among the muck and took interest. The artifacts recovered pieces were cleaned significantly and shows its complexity, leading to Stais to theorize the device was used as an astronomical clock. So basically, it just kind of goes back to saying, how the planets are aligned and how they rotate around the sun and all that.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
What is a sponge diver?
I'm not exactly sure.
Do they dive for sponges?
I guess so. Are there sponges in the? There are sponges in the ocean.
Yeah.
So basically, that's what it says. It just kind of goes back, talking about how it was found, where it was at, when they cleaned it up, and they couldn't figure it out. So now, if they thought that originally when they found it on the ship, they thought it was from another wreck because it looked like it was from a different era.
Right.
So they weren't sure what it was at the time. They just kind of looked over it.
I wonder if somebody captured it and kept it as like loot and stuff,
No, probably.
I wonder when they cleaned it up and got it working if it said, "You've got mail. You've got mail.
It could have.
You've got mail."
It could have. It could have.
Yay!
So we're talking about Antarctica.
I've got mail. Yay!
So we're talking about Antarctica, and a giant alien spotted in Antarctica within an entrance into the mountains.
Now, I am very interested in this story.
All right, so alien hunters believe that they have spotted a giant extraterrestrial in Antarctica, which is at least 20 meters tall. The existence of aliens continues to be debated, but one conspiracy theorist believes that he has the proof. Said proof comes in the form of an apparent alien giant found in the slopes of Antarctica using Google Earth. Near the apparent giant is what appears to be a doorway, which, according to prominent alien hunter Scott C. Waring, is 22 meters high. That seems to fit well. Mr. Waring wrote in his blog ET Database, "I found a giant figure in Antarctica today, and it's not far from a giant entrance to a cave opening. Now Google Ruler says that the figure is 20 meters tall. Google Ruler also says that the entrance to the cave is 22 meters tall. That seems to fit well. Now a 20-meter tall alien would surprise a lot of people, but honestly, what does size have to do with intelligence?" Giant alien spotted in Antarctica with entrance to the mountains claims was the alien to the doorway. Daggone. Oh no, I'm sorry. I must have. Have wrote this twice. I'm so sorry.
You're fine.
So nothing I would think reports of the aliens 45 meters tall have come out of. Daggone, I wrote two stories here. Do you want to hear another one about Russia?
Sure.
Because apparently I've got another alien story here from Russia, or we could save it for next week.
Let's save that one for next week.
All right. Because I did not realize that I had two stories here.
What are you going to do for the show today? You going down to the hardware store?
Yeah.
I'm going to get some potting soil.
I'm going to get some
duct tape.
Nuclear stuff. Dante's Hell exposes COVID-19, the Illuminati, and the Anunnaki at the Cannes Marche des Films.
Cannes Film Festival.
That's the one.
There you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Dante's Hell is a 108-minute feature documentary depicting the story of a man that went on a journey through the worst of the afterlife to finally consummate his love relationship at the gate of paradise in the third sequel. It features Eric Roberts and Franco Nero among over 30 celebrities and scholars from the U.S., UK, Italy, and the Vatican. Inferno Panoramic, an original painting to Dino Di Durante, exposing the Anunnaki and the Illuminati in hell. Soon, the world will be able to see the extraordinary film based on Dante's Alighieri's literary masterpiece, The Divine Comedy, Inferno, Purgatory, and Paradise. So what makes Dante's Hell so spectacular? Both the film and the exclusively created art collection took over 12 years to produce and give us an unprecedented way of interpreting one of the greatest stories of all time. The Infernal story is presented circle by circle and is an unprecedented, unique way that no other film has done in history. Virgil guides and protects Dante on his dark journey, descending circle by circle, and a chasm to the center of the earth and out into purgatory in the second sequel. Visually, Dante's Hell features over 300 paintings and illustrations, several artists, including a new repainted 75-piece art collection by Durante, never seen before, a remake from his earlier collection, published in books available in 33 languages. So Roberts as Dante and the historic animation film Inferno Dantesco Animato with Franco Nero as the narrator. Furthermore, the final touch
Everybody got to Mr. Roboto.
Furthermore, the final touch of the massive documentary is the addition of some excerpts from the first Italian feature, Inferno. The trilogy is set to inspiring films that answers all of humans' basic questions.
Thank you very much, Cronkite, for that news segment. I'm Muscle on Paperboy telling us some good news.
Yeah.
I guess we're going to do Elliot's articles coming up. I'm going to get you a Snickers bar, and hopefully you'll be in a better mood when we come back with
I'm in a good
listener-requested topics. Did you have anything else to add?
No, I think I'm good. Thank you for listening to Here to Chew Bubblegum.
All right, we'll be right back.
You're listening to Here to Chew Bubblegum. If Abraham Lincoln were alive, he'd listen, but he's dead.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Once again, whenever you're listening, this is Elliot from Elliot's Articles here on Here to Chew Bubblegum. And we're getting ready to do Montauk Part 3, ladies and gentlemen. And our a little bit of our exploration of the Montauk Project in a couple of different series. This is Part 3. Now, before we go into Wilhelm Reich, let's talk a little bit. I want to finish up what we were talking about last week. If you remember, we ended with Edward and Duncan Cameron. Edward Cameron, who would later become Al Bielek. Edward and Duncan Cameron jumping over the side of the USS Eldridge, and they will later show up again in our story. But after that happened, the Eldridge was outfitted for one more test. This unmanned test happened. The Eldridge disappeared, but upon reappearing, it was found to have suffered severe damage, according to Alien Impact, once again by author Michael Kraft. It was found to have suffered severe damage to the equipment. The Philadelphia experiment was voted a failure, and the equipment was put into secret storage. Now, with that being said, we know that this is not the end of project of the Philadelphia experiment. It's actually going to join up with another project, and thus is born the Montauk Project. But first, let's talk a little bit about Wilhelm Reich. Wilhelm Reich was a brilliant, highly controversial Austrian scientist who studied with Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung, and who later immigrated to America. Reich claimed to have discovered what he called orgone energy, which is the life force intrinsic to all living things and even the atmosphere. His brilliant writings on the function of the orgone in sexuality and orgasm are still studied by many psychiatrists and bodywork therapists. Neo-Reichian therapy is not an uncommon form of cathartic bodywork still popular today. And while it is still popular today, it is very controversial. Unfortunately, Reich attracted the attention of the Food and Drug Administration when he began claiming that he could heal diseases with orgone energy. He also had published controversial writings on teenage sexuality, which did not help his case at all. Now, Michael Kraft goes on to say that the courts ruled against Reich, and the FDA supervised a massive public burning of his books and destroyed much of his lab equipment. Reich himself was sentenced to prison in a verdict that even in the 1940s seemed harsh. He died in the same prison where he was reportedly permitted to continue his research into energy phenomena. His papers from that time are supposedly classified. Now, according to Michael Kraft, it is a matter of record that Reich worked on a number of federal and state experiments in weather control. His theory was that violent storms accumulate DOR, or dead orgone. He developed an electromagnetic method to reduce the DOR of violent storms, or simply to break them up. Reich's work with the government resulted in the creation of what is known as the radiosonde. The pineapple-sized radiosonde combined Reich's technology with a simple radio broadcasting and receiving device. Used in creating and breaking up storms, it was also a potential broadcasting source of clean orgone energy. The operation that carried out this cloud-bursting work was known as Project Phoenix. Eventually, the work of Project Phoenix and Project Rainbow were combined in what became the Montauk Project. Now, in Preston Nichols' book, The Montauk Project, he goes into detail about what Wilhelm Reich did. He talked about one of the ways that with Wilhelm Reich, his methods were used to break down people that they used as Montauk boys. These were the people they would send out to do missions. He says that it involves a very sophisticated technique of programming and deprogramming, employing a certain kind of bodywork using sexual energy. Those are the techniques they used at the Montauk Project to brainwash the Montauk boys before they were sent out on missions, and to brainwash the Montauk boys to forget their own participation. Very controversial, and Preston Nichols was later accused of actually doing these methods to people who thought that they may have been Montauk boys in the past. Very controversial. Preston Nichols, he's not very well looked upon, but to tell this story, you still have to include that. Now, let's talk about those Montauk boys. The Montauk boys themselves were usually blonde, blue-eyed, Aryan types who fit the Nazi ideal. Remember, we suspect that Montauk had a strong neo-Nazi connection due to Operation Paperclip. These kids were kidnapped and brought there, brutally broken down, sexually reprogrammed, then sent out through time tunnel missions on different times, places, and alternate realities. Many of these kids never came back. It is strange that there are many, many people who claim to be Montauk boys, and the even stranger part is they seem to all be moving back towards the Montauk base. Whether or not that's true, who knows? But there are a lot of people living around Long Island who swear that they had once upon a time been a member of the Montauk Boys. Now, the Montauk Boys and other explorers, willingly or not, traveled through what we call a time tunnel. Yes, just like that 1960s television show, directed by a trained psychic strapped into a chair loaded down with leads to the transmitters. The occupant of that chair was most often than not Duncan Cameron. The chair surmounted a pyramid of coils, broadcasting electromagnetic energy on a frequency that matched the human aura. The signals were run through a digital converter that then fed into a Cray 1 supercomputer interfaced with an IBM 360. The resultant signal was then relayed through the immense radar dish transmitter atop the Montauk base. Signals were also transmitted through a Delta T antenna that had been found to distort the dimension of time. It was while working on a homemade Delta T years later at home that Preston Nichols first began to recover his lost memories of being involved. Essentially, whoever the psychic was, most of the time Duncan Cameron, would think or meditate, and then the computers would analyze that signal. This combination allowed the operator to fine-tune the process on a level impossible for a mere machine. In the early days of the project, working from the chair was extremely dangerous. Before the technician discovered adequate shielding, the operator was inadvertently exposed to lethal amounts of UHF/microwave radiation. In Duncan's case, according to Preston Nichols, enough brain matter was destroyed to have the doctors declare him brain dead. Now, remember, according to Nichols, the Camerons, both sets, were very, very psychic and had lots of abilities. Now, even though Duncan was declared brain dead, according to Preston Nichols, he had enough psychic energy that it was his psychic energy that actually ran his body through his brainstem. Again, very controversial. I didn't say I believed everything, but this is a very interesting story. Now, let's get back to what happened to Duncan and Edward after they jumped over the side of the USS Eldridge. According to Al Bielek, remember Al Bielek, it used to be Edward Cameron until some kind of metaphysical brain transport. According to Al, and these are his words, we fell for a long time through empty space. Then suddenly we landed on our feet on solid ground. We didn't know it at the time, but we were on the grounds of the Montauk base on Long Island. At this point, the Philadelphia Experiment movie is wrong. We didn't get attacked by a military helicopter, then escaped through a hole in the fence. Instead, we turned to run and were immediately grabbed by military police officers, who took us into the building, then down underground to a huge laboratory. One of the things that we saw there was a flying saucer parked right there. It later turned out that this was the same saucer that had been sucked through the vortex created by the Eldridge. In there, we were confronted by an old man who said that he was John von Neumann. Well, we knew this couldn't be von Neumann, since he was a much younger man whom we'd seen just yesterday before the experiment. He said that he was indeed von Neumann, and that he had been waiting many years to see us again. He said that it was now August 13th, 1983. We knew he was crazy then. Al explained that they were taken to a waiting room and kept under guard there. In that room was a color television, and they began to wonder if the man who claimed to be von Neumann was right after all. In the 1940s, there was no color TV, and the things they saw in it eventually convinced them that they were now really in the future. When von Neumann came up to speak to them again, he found a willing audience. Von Neumann explained to them that the Eldridge had created a dangerous lock in hyperspace, and that they wanted to send them back to shut things down. If they didn't, the hyperspace bubble would continue to expand with no end in sight. Now, according to von Neumann, the historical records had showed that they had done it, but they hadn't been sent back yet. They had to go and smash the machinery and shut it down. Now we're going to stop there, and we'll pick back up with more tales of the Montauk Project on next week's Here to Chew Bubblegum. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for all of the kind words that you've been sending in. I appreciate those. Goose and Cronkite are doing a fantastic job with Here to Chew Bubblegum. So is Ned, and I'm just lucky to be a part of this, guys. Until next week, dear listeners, stay vigilant. Elliot out.
Howdy, folks. This is the Creepy Kentuckian from deadpit.com, and you're listening to Here to Chew Bubblegum.
And welcome back. How'd that Snickers bar taste?
It's better. It's good.
You feel better now, Betty White?
A little bit.
Okay. All right, we're going to start out. Let's see. This is listener requested topics. I'll do our first one. Then I'll let you do the ones that I sent you, and we'll go back and forth that way. And I'll even throw some of mine over your way.
All right.
Our first listener requested topic is from Wes. I'd like to hear more about Randonautica app. Now, we are definitely, me and you and Ned are going to play that. Mm-hmm. So, and you do realize there's walking involved. So when it warms back up. So,
hopefully not that
But for those of you who haven't heard of Randonautica, it is the first ever quantum-generated adventure game that takes you on a journey of true randomness. The adventure is yours to have, and the legend will be yours to tell. Welcome, future randonauts. This app provides you with totally random coordinates within a set of radius. The most trending controversial story from the Randonautica app happened on a beach in West Seattle. Some kids thought about finding a dead body, and they found just that. They found a bag with 2 dead bodies, a 27 and 36-year-old male and female, and they reported that to the Seattle Police Department. And as of June 30th, 2020, the investigation is still ongoing. You had heard about that, correct? I think I talked to you and Ned a little bit about that. Some more stories from Randonautica. Let's see. I asked for anything to do with my best friend who died by suicide 2 years ago. I saw a raven. It dropped a feather. The lady said that it was a spirit animal. If he was a spirit animal, it would be a raven. My intent to get direction in my current search for a new job, I was sent to a pond. At the exact spot, I saw a black turtle. I think the symbolism here shows slow and steady wins the race. As an impatient person, that really spoke to me. Another user says his intent was closure. I came across a field of my sister's birth flowers I've never seen in real life and have them tattooed on me. I felt at peace. And the last Randonautica says, my intention was scary. It took me to the middle of nowhere on a dirt road. I pulled up to this old abandoned mansion where a religious retreats apparently happen. And that's just a few Randonautica experience stories. Now yours, you all saw like a UFO.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to, when we do this, and we'll video this, and we may even go YouTube Live when we do it, I think I'm going to manifest, think of money.
Money?
You think we'd end up taking us to a bank parking lot?
It might.
So.
Might take us to a gas station or something.
There you go. So what's yours there?
So Cronkite mentioned, this is from Tanner84. Cronkite mentioned a month or so ago about a secret local base near a lake. I'd never heard of that, but would like to hear more of it.
Now, and that's something we talked about off the show. I would like to hear about that.
Well, it was an article that I read years ago, but I can't find that article now. I've looked for it all week long, cannot find it. So I mean, it could have been just a satire piece, to be honest.
Really?
I hate to admit it, but it could have been. Because I was really hoping it was real, but
me too.
I can't find anything about it.
Go ahead and do the next one there.
All right, so Poison Apple says, any ghost stories from Tennessee or surrounding states? I love it when you guys do this type of shows where the listeners suggest topics for you to discuss. Well, actually, I do have 10 stories here.
Okay.
We'll just read a couple of them.
Yeah, sounds good.
So
and these are from Tennessee.
Well, there's a few of them from Tennessee, and then there's surrounding states.
Okay.
All right, so the Bell Witch in Adams, Tennessee, perhaps one of the most notorious ghosts in the world. Tennessee's Bell Witch legend has been around for over 200 years. In the early 1800s, John Bell moved his family to northwestern Tennessee to the Red River settlement. A few years later, Bell encountered strange animal sitting in the middle of the cornfield. The animal had the body of a dog and the head of a rabbit. And when Bell attempted to kill the creepy creature, it ran away. The family soon after began hearing mysterious knockings, rattling chains, faint whispering, and even dogfights in the dead of night. For years, the Bell family kept their troubles a secret. Finally, John Bell shared his family's trouble with the neighbors, and soon the entire region had heard the Bell's Witch. After years of torment, John Bell was mysteriously poisoned, and the spirits' visits became far less frequent. A number of theories attempt to explain the witch's presence, blaming a series of women, including Betsy Bell herself, but some local folk still insist that the strange things will happen around the Red River settlement and blame the Bell Witch. So the ghost of Lavinia Fisher in Charleston, Tennessee. Many myths surround the legend of Lavinia Fisher, a 19th century Charleston woman convicted for highway robbery and hung just off of Meeting Street. Some claim she was America's first female serial killer, based on speculation that she and her husband would lure travelers to their inn, slip poison in their tea, steal their belongings, and carry their bodies out back. However, her and her husband actually belonged to a band of highway thieves and was never accused of serial murder. Still, the details surrounding her death are chilling, believing that she would be pardoned up until the moment she was hung. Lavinia, according to the legend, used her last breath to scream, "If you have a message you want me to send to hell, give it to me, and I'll carry it." Her ghost still haunts the old Charleston jailhouse, and tourists still claim sightings of her ghostly apparition. Ghosts of LaLure Mansion. It's in New Orleans, Louisiana. So
Never been to New Orleans, have you?
I've never been there. Well, I mean, I've passed by it, but I've never. To this day, Delphine LaLure,
LaFleur.
LaLauries. I guess that's how you say it.
I like saying LaFleur. It just flows off the tongue.
Extravagant Creole mansion in the New Orleans French Quarter in the city's most legendary haunted house due to gruesome torture that occurred over 200 years ago. Dr. Louis LaLaurie and his wife Delphine were once known for one of the Creole Society's most influential high society couple. However, Delphine soon gained a reputation for being brutally cruel to her servers, and neighbors began noticing the unexplained disappearance of parlor maids and stable boys. One night, after a fire broke out in the kitchen, firefighters discovered a chilling secret a secret room full of tortured servants. Word spread throughout New Orleans, and angry citizens formed a mob, dead set on avenging the tortured humans. The Lalaurie managed to escape to France, and haunted souls began seeking revenge on the building's occupants immediately. The house fell to ruin. No one wants to live in a house haunted by tortured souls. So Huggin' Molly in Abbeville, Alabama.
Huggin' Molly?
That's what it says,
She
Huggin' Molly.
likes to hug you?
I'm not sure. I haven't read it yet.
Okay.
Abbeville, Alabama.
Abbeville, Alabama.
Abbeville.
Oh, Abbeville. Okay.
While this story may not make you shudder, you should still be glad you didn't grow up around this variety of ghosts. If you're familiar with Abbeville, Alabama, you've probably heard of Huggin' Molly. After all, her name is written on the town's welcome sign. The legend of Huggin' Molly traces all the way back to Ireland, but today she roams the streets of Abbeville. Wearing a long shroud, Huggin' Molly appears only to young people out past their curfew. She runs up to these rule breakers, gives them a giant hug, and screams in their car. Screams in their car. For over 100 years, parents have been relying on her legend to teach their kids not to stay out after dark.
I think I'd rather meet her than the one from Alabama, ass-slapping Albert.
Yeah. So the ghost of Bellamy Bridge is in Marianna, Florida. There are many different versions of the story. Nonetheless, the Bellamy Bridge ghost might be Florida's most infamous ghastly legend. Bellamy Bridge is an old steel frame bridge that spans the Chipotle Chipoli River, just north of Mariana.
Ghastly Chipotle.
On dark and foggy nights, Elizabeth Jane Bellamy.
That's how I am after I eat Chipotle. I'm ghastly.
Ned snickered. I heard.
You don't have a response for that?
I don't. On dark and foggy nights, Elizabeth Jane Bellamy is said to roam the swamps surrounding the bridge, mourning the loss of a love cut short. Elizabeth was only 18 when she died. Days after marrying her husband, local politician and planter Samuel C. Bellamy, in one version, her extravagant wedding gown caught fire on the night of her wedding. In another, she contracted malaria. After her death, her husband was so stricken with grief, eventually committed suicide. Visitors to the Bellamy Bridge claim to have seen fire extending from the bridge.
Fire!
Mysterious white lights, and even the ghostly figure of a young woman walking through the fog.
Young woman!
So, let's see. How many more of these are there?
You want to move on, or you want to read one more?
There's a few of them here.
Is there, out of those few, is there one that you really want to touch base on?
All right, so the Red Lady of Huntington, Montgomery, Alabama.
The Red Lady. Was she Indian?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
In the early 20th century, a young woman named Martha started college at the Women's College of Alabama, complying with her father's will. Martha's favorite color was red, and she decorated every surface of her dorm room in Pratt Hall in the crimson shade. Because she didn't make friends easily, Martha lived alone on campus, and she was very unhappy. She retreated to her room, living in isolation, and only left her bed in the middle of the night. One evening, after failing...
Why did she leave in the middle of the night? Did she have to go pee?
I'm not sure. It doesn't say. One evening, after failing to attend classes and dinner, Martha was found lying on the floor in her room, dead. To this day, generations of Huntington students have claimed to have witnessed Martha's ghost. The Red Lady roaming around the halls at night, emitting a strange red glow. Now, there are several other stories on here, and you can find these on the website southernliving.com.
Southern Living, really?
That's what it says.
Huh. My grandma used to have a subscription to that magazine.
The Myrtles Cloy, and that's in St. Francis, Louisiana. You have Dolly Madison, no location given.
Dolly Madison. Mm-hmm. Now, does that name sound familiar?
No.
Isn't that the cake company, Dolly Madison? I mean, for real.
It might be.
For real. What do they make? Twinkies? Is that what they make, Ned? Dolly Madison? Google that. Also,
I think this might be around D.C. Dolly Madison. They were down D.C.
Earlier in the show, we had a call from a friend of mine, Jerry. Jerry, due to technical difficulties, we weren't able to get you on the air. I'm sorry about that. We will have that lined out next week, and if anybody wants to call in, please do. That was totally my fault. We got some new mics and gear, and we didn't get a chance to test it all properly, so we wasn't able to take calls this week, but we will for sure be lined out, and we'll do it next week.
It'll be good.
You want me to move on to my next one?
Sure.
Dolly Madison is a cake and ice cream company.
Told you.
Also the former First Lady.
Yeah, they make ice cream too. I did not know that.
So, yeah, I guess that would make sense. It would be around D.C.
Dolly Madison. You never heard of Dolly Madison Cake Company? Mm-hmm. They make, I think, cookies. They make cookies. That was really good. Let's see. The next one comes, a listener-requested topic, comes from Easton. Anything about the Dark Fleet. If you haven't heard of it, it's a very interesting subject. From what I gathered, I had never heard of it, and I hope there was a couple of different things about the Dark Fleet. I hope this is the one he's talking about. The Dark Fleet is a German secret space program. It works entirely alongside the Draco Federation Alliance. It operates within a local cluster, and its primary objectives are to help quash rebels on Darko-controlled worlds and to help conquer new worlds for the Draco. The Dark Fleet headquarters is located about 10 o'clock position of the backside of the moon, and it was constructed in the 1960s to early 1970s. They have many laboratories where genetic experiments are performed, and they have one section that deals with humans in the slave trade. Had you ever heard about that?
No, that's completely.
I'd never heard about that. Now, didn't you have one more from listener requested topics?
Yeah, but
Were you able to pull that or not find any information on that?
That was I just had the two.
Okay.
It was, the bass and the
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Well, you can help me out with this next one of mine then. See, Smoky Man says, more Kentucky-inspired lost treasure stories. True tales or legends, you choose. So, Cronkite and myself will be talking about that. Buried treasure in Kentucky is hid in many areas of the state. For years, there have been stories of bootleggers hiding stolen money in Kentucky. There are also stories about mobster caches and wealthy merchants from the 1800s that buried their fortunes, and some of these were never recovered. Let's see. Anthony... And see, I have a list of people. You have a list of locations. The first one on my list, Anthony Kakoma, was a gambler that left a diary in 1940 when he died. The diary stated that he buried a bunch of treasure near the town of Horse Cave. One of the treasures was worth $3,200 and was located east of town. It was a cache near the foundation of an old home. Go ahead with the location.
All right, so Russellville is located in Logan County. In 1868, Jesse James and his gang robbed the Russellville Bank of $50,000 in gold coins. As the town posse closed in on them, they cached their loot somewhere outside the town.
$500. I'd actually heard of that one. Have you heard of that one before?
Jesse James is pretty popular.
I mean, but the Russellville bank robbery.
Oh, no.
Let's see. A Prohibition mobster was reported to have buried treasure worth approximately $4 million in gold coins and paper currency. The treasure is supposed to be buried somewhere near Covington on the Ohio River, opposite from Cincinnati. I think that we need a metal detector and the Randonautica app, and let's go find that.
I agree. West Paducah is located near Metropolis, along the south side of the Ohio River in McCracken County. Silver coins from the late 19th century have been found on the riverbank. They may have been washed up on the shore from a riverboat wreck. Henderson is located 1 mile. Is this a second? This is another location.
Yeah, that's another location. Sorry
Okay, never mind. I was getting ahead of myself.
Let's see. Around the time of the Civil War, William Pettit buried approximately $80,000 in gold coins somewhere on his 2,000-acre farm. The farm was located approximately 3 miles south of Lexington.
We need to go check that place out.
Yes, definitely.
Henderson is located Route 1 in Henderson County on the banks of the Ohio River, approximately half a mile east of Henderson. Gold and silver coins have been found. The wreck of a riverboat can be seen in the river. Possibly the coins washed up shore from this wreck.
Jack Neal, a wealthy trader, supposedly buried $200,000 in silver and gold bars on his farm in an orchard. His property was located in the mountains east of Hueysville. Now, I think that might be the Hueysville that's close to us in Floyd County.
Oh, okay.
If it is, we definitely need to do a little research on that.
Yeah, is it in the mountains?
Yeah, located in the mountains east of Hueysville. So if you're going east, that would be like going towards Prestonsburg.
The Hart Brothers treasure is a cache of gold coins supposedly buried in the Hart Brothers, supposedly buried by the Hart Brothers somewhere in a cave above a stream. The search area of the Hart Brothers Harps Head Road, located approximately 10 miles south of Henderson, in Henderson County.
Now, you left one off there, and this was not pre-planned. You seen I just randomly handed you that. The second one down.
Oh, yeah.
Now, you will realize after you read that, the last two words, why this was not pre-planned. Okay.
Paducah is located in McCracken County. During the 1930s, James Langstaff, a local merchant, buried $75,000 in gold coins somewhere inside his hardware store. It wasn't a nuclear hardware store, so it doesn't count.
Oh, what'd you think about that? Are you fascinated by Kentucky lost treasures?
Yeah,
I actually am. I like to do research on those and see.
It's kind of neat.
We're going to move on to some listener text. Let's see. A fan from the 606 area writes, "Hey guys, I love the show. The Elliot's article part. He's been on a roll ever since he started."
Yeah, he has for sure. Thomas writes, you've talked about this before on the show, but what are your thoughts on the UFO sighting from Pikeville in October 2012? In my opinion, there was no way it was a balloon. I mean, yeah, we've discussed that one before, and I think they said it was an internet balloon.
Yeah, it was an internet balloon.
But,
I don't buy it. I
don't
think it
so
was.
either.
I do not think it was a balloon. What about you, Ned? Let's see. William says, "Hey guys, with recent sightings in Hawaii and recently North Carolina, what do you think this all means? I really wish the government would acknowledge these events and let us in on the secret. It's long overdue." Roswell.
You know, I was just thinking about this the other day when I was reading that story about North Carolina yesterday, and it was there has been quite a bit of activity in the skies lately.
Yeah.
If you don't believe, just go out and walk up.
I think
Or
some
look
of
up.
them are extraterrestrial origin. I think some of them are man-made UFOs, like we've talked about before.
So Gypsy writes, I have no clue if this is the right place to put memories of the past lives here, but it does say the afterlife, and I believe when you die, you come back as another person, and so on and so on. I always had dreams of having a life in the Middle Ages, particularly the Wars of the Roses era. I was the daughter of Richard Neville, and Neville. I would like to share memories. Please, no judgment, and I will post more memories as I go along. Well, thank you, Gypsy. I would like to hear some of that. Wouldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Yeah, definitely. Let's see. The next writer, waiting for normal. It's. I'm not even gonna say anything.
What's so funny?
No, just waiting for normal.
Oh, okay.
So, like I told you earlier, weeks ago, mental illness is nothing to laugh about.
Right.
Hey guys, when things get back to normal, what's one of the first things you want to do? Roswell. I think I've said this before. I'd like to go to the movies. I really hope to see the new Ghostbusters movie this summer, if in the movies, I mean, I just really want to see it. I would like it better in the theater versus at home.
Yeah. I don't know. I'd probably go to a bar.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
I miss a bar.
You're not much of a you weren't much of a bar man back in the day, though, were you?
I wasn't, but once you can't have it, you
Oh, got you.
You need it, I guess. I don't know.
What about you, Ned? And don't say hardware store.
Well, those are open right now. Those are essential. So
Probably regular hours on the restaurant.
Regular hours on the restaurants. There's like Walmart stuff still closing at 10 at night. Are they?
11, I think now.
Oh, it's 11. Go ahead and read that last one for us.
So Dean writes, great show last week, guys. I'm a long-time listener, but this is the first time that I've written in. Goose, you have surrounded yourself with a good crew. The way that you and Cronkite play off of each other is hilarious. And Ned, is there anything to bring you guys back down to earth?
And Ned is there to bring you guys back down to earth.
Love the show, Roswell. P.S. Any new movies that you're looking forward to watching this year?
The Ghostbusters. I just said it. So
Top Gun.
Top Gun.
Ned.
Ned said, I don't have anything. All right. We want to thank everybody for all the listener topics. We're going to move on to question of the week responses. Our question of the week last week was, if you're familiar with Bob Lazar, what do you think he was telling the truth or making stuff up, basically?
All right, so Rat Tail Jimmy says, I find Bob
Still
Lazar...
love that name. Rat Tail Jimmy's wrote in before.
I find Bob Lazar believable, and from what I've read, his story has never changed. Yep, it's never changed.
Tammy says, Bob is the real deal. The element that he talked about didn't exist, and it wasn't added into the element table until 2004. I don't think that part's correct, but Tammy, never mind. If that doesn't tell you what he was saying was true, nothing ever will.
Bobby says, absolutely, he's got more to lose by making the claims than he has to gain, and he's not changed his story at all.
Danny says, I've been an amateur UFOologist since the 80s. I remember when the Bob Lazar story broke. It is certainly difficult or even impossible to explain some of the information he gave. I believe for the most part it is true.
Adam says, I 100% believe Mr. Lazar.
Michael says, I think everything that he said is true. Too many times that he said from the start are now public. The hand scanner, the element, and the fact that the government didn't even acknowledge the existence of Area 51.
Mm-hmm. Amen says it's true.
Amen.
It's true. Every word that every word that Bob said is true. It says they.
Bob, up and down in the water.
Even the ships that described years ago were recently patented by the Navy. There's the Navy again.
Yeah, so. I'm a Believer says years ago when the story first broke, I didn't believe it. It wasn't until a few years ago that I now think he told the truth. This is based on my own experiences and things he said that have came true. So, we said earlier we all believe Bob Lazar.
Yep.
Uh,
Seems like everyone else does too.
Yes, they do. So our new question of the week is, what conspiracy theory intrigues you the most and why? Do you have an answer for that?
Probably the Trump thing right now.
Really?
Yeah, because I'm still looking it up.
As of right now, and I'll do some more research into this, I'm going to say JFK.
JFK?
Yeah.
Well, what's the JFK conspiracy?
You've never heard?
Well, no, I have, but
Okay.
I'm sure they want to hear.
Well, there's just, did the government, was Lee Harvey Oswald by himself? Did
So,
the government do it?
The second gunman, Grassy Knoll.
Yeah. What about you, Neb?
I like the Illuminati.
The Illuminati's a good one.
Come a little closer. We couldn't hear you.
He said Illuminati,
Oh.
so that's a good one. So to tell them how to text or answer our question of the week.
All right, so you can text, call, or leave a voicemail, 606-373-3396, or you can email both of us or one of us, Goose at HereToChewBubblegum.com, or myself, Cronkite, at HereToChewBubblegum.com. And also don't forget that Ned can now check email as well at Ned, or
Here to Chew Bubblegum at Yahoo.
Attention Ned in the
Yes.
subject line at HereToChewBubblegum.com.
That sounds great. Don't forget that we'll have our first and what we hope will be many interviews to come with John Vance next Sunday on the show. I want to say special thanks to Carlin for all the voiceover work and for allowing us to use the music of Flannery, CK, Uncle Bill, and ST3P. What did I say that? He's not gas treatment. ST3B over at deadpit.com. James, Stacy, Greg, and all the rest of the guys at the Edge Studios. And finally, our friend, T-Shirt Joe at Fast Custom Shirts. What are you going to be getting into this week?
Work.
That's it?
That's it. That's all my
Work.
life is. Work.
Nothing exciting to work?
There's nothing to do. COVID shut everything down.
Oh, yeah. Well, so we'll see you back here on Wednesday. You ready to get up at 6 a.m. and meet here again to do the midweek show?
Barely, but I'll try.
Okay. Well, that'll do it for this week. We'll see you next week. And until then, so long for now.
So long for now. It's a new one, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. You like that?
We'll see you.
Goodbye.
Thanks for listening to Here to Chew Bubblegum. Tune in next time as we dive deeper into things the government doesn't want us to know.